Hello everybody and welcome to what is now an annual tradition, the WTS Christmas Special. What's the Story podcast. Mero, you going to sing us a Christmas song to kick off?
No, absolutely not. It's the Christmas party. It's our Christmas party with our two mates. Who are they, Danny?
The wonderful and brilliant Paul Howard and the even more wonderful and even more brilliant Gary Mackle, who is coming to us live from... Are we allowed to say your location, Gar, or for legal reasons can we not disclose?
No, you can walk away.
Okay.
Walk away.
He's coming to us from Santa Ponza, a strip club in Santa Ponza.
I thought it was the Seychelles. Is that where it was?
The Hardy Mardies, is it, Gar? Is that what you said it was called?
Yeah, there's a poster in the hall that says, wash your fingers for the mingers.
Guys, thank you very much for continuing this Christmas tradition of ours. I really appreciate it.
Well, it wouldn't be Christmas without this, I have to say, you know. Like, this is, it's part of Christmas now, you know.
Excellent. Love it. And before we get into everything, because I'll forget otherwise, our mutual friend and all-round good guy, Keith Kelly, has a project that will premiere this weekend. And, Paul, you've played a big part in it. It's the Pierce Rovers documentary.
Well, I mean, it's very nice of you to say I played a big part in it. I mean, Mick and Keith did all the work, and it's a fantastic documentary. And they produced a script, and I went to Keith's house in Ashlawn last week, or the week before last, and I spent like 17 minutes reading out a script that they wrote for me, you know. So and of course I go down as the narrator of this documentary, like, you know. So everybody who sees it and hears it will think, Jesus, that was a great documentary Paul Howard made on Pierce Rovers. I put all the work in, but the lads they just put in extraordinary work on it, and I'm really proud of my tiny part that I played in it, and it's premiering in Dunleary this weekend in what's the big library?
The Lexicon.
The Lexicon at 1:00 on Saturday, and there's a limited number of people can go to that. I got a VIP ticket because I was involved in the production. I'm with the band. But it's going to be available for everybody else to see. And I'm delighted because it's really fantastic piece of work.
Indeed it is. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Keep an eye out for Keith and Mick social media or the hashtag Jumpers for Goalposts. I presume we'll go on the Jumpers for Goalposts website, Mero, will it?
I'm not sure. I'd assume so.
It will, yeah. Sure, he's monetising the shite out of it now. That's what he's at.
Yeah, sure, I'm advertising all sorts of stuff on that. Like, I'm selling my car at the moment. I'm interested in a white 2012 Ford Explorer. If you get onto Keith Kelly's Twitter account, I've cut him in for 15%.
He's doing lunch meals as well. He's going to be the Marcus Rashford of the borough. He wants every child in the borough to have sriracha coleslaw on their sandwich by April 2022.
And vouchers for Manly.
It is. I saw him with 15 loaves of whippersnapper bread under his arm there a week or two ago. That must have been what it was.
He's a great guy, Keith, and I wish him luck with the Pierce Rover stuff. It's brilliant.
He's one of the borough's greatest people, like, you know, and like, you know, like I'm a different generation to you guys, you know, but like Keith Kelly was like one of the heroes of my childhood, you know. Like the Kellys were known as the Madness Kellys when I was a kid, and they were the Madness Kellys because they were all into madness in that house. They all had flat top haircuts and stay pressed trousers, and you know, Keith still does, by the way. Like,
yeah, Keith still wears that. Keith, my dad still wear those clothes.
Yeah. Keith's clothes haven't changed since about 1981. Like, you know, he's still, but I respect that. Like, he carries it off really well. Not everyone could. He looks fantastic in it. Like, you know, he never looks out of time or out of place. I feel like I'm in Back to the Future when I meet him. Like, you know, but he looks great, but he's a brilliant guy. and like when I was growing up, and you guys are probably the same in Ballybrack, like it was always about families, like, you know, there was always legendary families in the estate. We'd all sit around and talk about families that had a lot of big personalities and big characters in them, you know. And the Kellys of Lambay, there was two Kellys in Lambay. There were the Pump Kellys, and there were the Madness Kellys. The Pump Kellys were called the Pump Kellys because they borrowed our bicycle pump in 1983 and never gave it back. They're still called the Pump Kellys to this day in our house, you know. And then there's the Madness Kellys because they were into madness. And the Madness Kellys were just one of those families. And it is amazing that, 30, 40 years later, Keith Kelly still looms large in my imagination as just this giant figure, you know. He's amazing.
Absolutely. It's interesting you say that, you know, the garb he dresses in, and, you know, other people wouldn't look as well in it, because I remember Gary describing Mero's dad as a man who looks like an angry lesbian in his outfit. And it's stuck with me to this day. So happy Christmas, Mark. I hope Gary.
I think I said an aggressive lesbian.
An aggressive.
Yeah. He actually blocked me on WhatsApp there for a couple of weeks, Mark Merrigan.
He unblocked you on Saturday.
Yeah, we got it over the line. He unblocked me and he apologised.
Was there a reason for the block?
Gary texts me dad sometimes more than me, for God's sake.
I just like annoying Mark. Like when we designed Mero's bedroom last year.
This year, Gary.
This year, sorry, and the paint and all was delivered. He threw an all merciful hissy fit. There's not enough paint there, for fuck's sake. You can't put teal on the ceiling. Had an absolute meltdown. And then halfway through the project, best paint he ever used. Jesus, you know, Gary has some imagination with colour. But I just like boiling his piss when I can. I usually go at him on a Saturday morning.
Like Gary, I'm no, you know, I'm no sort of aesthete or whatever they call it, but the teal on the ceiling is gorgeous. Mero sent me pictures of it. Look,
lovely. Yeah.
And your listeners probably can't see that. Of course they can't see that, you know, but to have light coloured walls, and Gary can advise me on the colour of the walls. And stone slate, Graham, I think. Was it stone slate?
Something stone grey.
Yeah.
With a teal ceiling. I mean, and to be honest with you, Gary, like I would have been dubious about that, like, you know, and you know, in defense of Mark, like, you know, I would have kind of I would have heard that in theory and gone, that won't work. But Jesus, it's gorgeous. Like,
we're very happy with the outcome.
Who does the interior design in your house, Paul?
Well, we have a guy called Elton from Ballybrack. You know Elton?
Elton Hickey, yeah.
Yeah, Elton Hickey.
Yeah.
So we grew up with Elton, like, you know, and Elton, you see, everybody, you know, the way you'd be chatting to your mates and you say, oh, who did your ceiling? And you go, oh, well, I've no one to do the ceiling. And then someone says, oh, we've got a man. And you go, whoa, who's this man? And then there's always this mythic figure in your life who is the man who does, you know what I mean? Like, you have to find a man. And Elton is our man. Like, Elton can do anything, right? So you say to Elton, a bit of plastering needs done. And Elton will say, well, I don't do plastering. And then you just cajole him a little bit and go, listen, Elton, you can do plastering. And he'll come along and he's like Michelangelo or something, like, you know, do the best plastering job he ever had. And so Elton is our guy, but Elton is absolutely brilliant at everything he turns his hand to. And the problem is that when somebody is that brilliant, they're in demand. So there's a waiting list for Elton, right? And we always, you know, when we talk about Elton in this house, we always kind of quote the Elton John line, I think it's going to be a long, long time. But when Elton, can you paint the hallway? We know it's going to be a couple of months, like, you know, because to get a good guy, you enter a holding pattern and you wait for this guy. And when he comes, he just works his magic, you know. So So I mean, he's not our interior design. He doesn't walk around like, you know, like Frank or something like that, sort of saying, you know, I think something cappuccino in this hallway would be great. But ring him. We would have the vision ourselves, and then we ring him, and then, you know, we suggest we would suggest paints and stuff like that. Now, having said that, I've had some disasters in the house. When Mary was away. Uh,
That's not a good sentence.
no. See, no. These are painting disasters, Mero. You know, like, so. I got the Crown, the Dulux color catalog. Stay away from the Dulux color catalog. It's a disaster, right? Because you're looking at these rooms in sort of stately homes where, you know, Gussie Fink Nuttall lives, right? And there's this massive room, and they've got all the coving and all that kind of thing. And they paint the walls fucking deep blue, like a deeper blue than your Italian 95 jersey there, Mero, right? Slightly deeper, actually very deeper than that. It was kind of midnight blue. And I painted our hallway midnight blue. I didn't paint it. I got a painter to paint it midnight blue. And it wasn't Elton, but this guy was jollying me along, telling me, oh no, it's lovely, like it really is lovely. And he left the house, right? And I sank into a depression. And I'm not prone to depression, but it was a depression that was purely triggered by the fact that my hallway was fucking blue, right? Dark blue. And it just sort of induced this funk in me, like, you know. So anyway, I realized it was a huge mistake. He did a great job. I mean, it looked lovely and everything, but it was just the wrong house for it, like, you know. So I called him back the next day and I said, it hasn't worked out. And instead of saying, like, you're fired, I said, can we maybe talk about another color? And he said, yeah. So I turned to the next page of the Dulux catalog, right? There was an olive green, right? And the olive green was gorgeous. I mean, it was really gorgeous, right? If the room was the size of a football pitch. Right? But our whole stairs and landing could not accommodate olive green. And it was even more depressing than the blue. So he did that. And I said, yeah, that's great. He never got in the house ever again. Never, ever got in the house ever again, right? And I painted over it. And I remember this really, really clearly. It was the night Liverpool won the Champions League against AC Milan in 2005, right? I watched the match in a friend of mine's house in Avoca, Declan Lynch from the Sunday Independent. Celebrated the match, and I got home at about midnight, and instead I couldn't sleep. So I got a tin of white paint and a tray and a roller out, and I painted over the olive green. And you can still see little kind of traces of it around the light switch and around the coving and all that kind of thing. But mostly I completely covered it over. And that hall, stairs and landing has not changed in the 16 years since then. It's still white with a slight tinge of olive green coming through. So that's basically my approach to decor.
Lads, this is our 4th annual Christmas special and 2 during the pandemic. How are all our heads? Gary, start with you.
I'm fine, you know me. I just kind of truck along, keep myself busy, doing what I need to be doing, washing my hands, sanitizing, wearing a mask, getting me my vaccines. Cannot wait to see the end of it, obviously, because there's just no end to, we're talking about Omicron now, another variant. We're talking about, we've people in the country who think there's lizards running every fucking news channel in the world. I just can't wait to see the back of it. And I don't think that will be any time soon, because I think somebody said to me the other day, only 6% of, say, Africa is vaccinated. You know, so they're still a long way off. But to answer your question, I'm fine. But I long to see the end of this shite, like, long to see it. It's when you get to a point of something where it's just boring. I nearly long for the day that we're talking about fucking politics again.
Brexit.
Yeah, Brexit or fucking Joe Biden or something. Just nearly 2 years of this shite, like, do you know?
Paul?
It's a Groundhog Day, you know?
Yeah.
I'm fine. You know, I'm okay. I feel really Christmassy today. I was at a Christmas concert last night in Monkstown Church.
Oh, lovely.
Big Church of Ireland church. Big Protestant carry on.
Is that the one in the middle of Monkstown? Is it the smack one? Yeah.
Dominating, shouting, we are Protestants. And they're coming in evoke ham weavers and cinnamon, a bit of smashed avocado toast and cinnamon, and you just hear this hum in the background. We are Protestants, right? Church of Ireland church in the middle of Monkstown. I love it. I absolutely love it. And Paul Byram, who is a good pal of mine, was doing a Christmas concert there last night, and it was just incredible. I mean, it was just awesome.
Did he do Fairy Tale in New York?
Yeah, no, he didn't do no, he didn't.
Not a Christmas song, Mero. This podcast established that in recent years.
I'm only joking.
Gab here, but I mean, like, he didn't do Fairy Tale in New York, but he did another song that's a Christmas song without being a Christmas song, right? Which is River by Joni Mitchell.
Okay.
Right? I kind of think that's like Fairy Tale in New York in the sense that I could listen to that any time of the year. And I would kind of hear that there's a kind of Christmas doon 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 piano at the start. And then the opening is "Come on, Christmas, they're cutting down trees." But it's not a Christmas song in the sense that I listen to it at a barbecue in the summer and I would kind of go, "Oh, that's lovely." And I'd be flipping my burger and putting a bit of pineapple on it and all that, you know. But that's an argument for another day. But Paul Byram last night was...
Whoa. You're not getting away with that, Howard. Hang on a second.
Pineapple on a burger?
What?
Pineapple on a burger?
That's the most outrageous thing I've just said, is it?
You're hanging around with the Protestants too much if that's normal to you.
But you not have pineapple on a burger?
Absolutely not. What?
We clearly never had a Hawaiian burger in Marcella's in Arklow.
Pineapple on a burger is sensational.
No.
Pineapple on a burger. You've never done a dark and stormy pineapple on the barbecue.
No, absolutely not.
Lads, you are missing out.
Hang on a second, Danny. You've never poured rum onto a plate, put mashed peppercorns, poured them on, squeeze of lime, zest of lime.
Ainsley, how do you hear?
Crushed chilies on top, slap the slice of pineapple down on top, both sides, and then throw it onto the barbecue, and then put it on a burger between two buns.
Paul, what's happened to you in recent times, Paul?
Nothing has happened to me. I mean, that's a culinary delight down where we live, right, Gary?
Yeah, pineapple on a burger is beautiful.
It's sensational.
Beautiful.
The pandemic is taking its toll on you, Paul.
What's that?
The pandemic is taking its toll on you when you're putting chili and all on pineapple.
I guarantee you, if you try it, you will absolutely love it.
If you walked into Palm Beach and asked for pineapple on a burger, Rito would hop over the counter and headbutt you.
Well, I'm going to be totally frank with you now, Danny. Like, the first time I ever had pineapple on a burger was in Palm Beach. And it's an under-the-counter item that they... You can go off menu, right? Right, but there's a place, a famous place in Bray called Henry and Rose.
Yeah,
right? I'm familiar with it. Yeah,
you leave Henry and Rose without a pineapple on your burger, like you're considered a weirdo.
Pineapple on burger is amazing.
Amazing. How could you not like it? They go together like cheese and crackers, like, you know, cigars and arrogance. What are you talking about?
Cigars.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
no, it's
I was going to say, I saw Paul Byram at this concert last night. That's what I want to talk to you about. And I don't want to hijack this, but I just want to get some Christmas stuff in at the start, right? Paul Byram and Leah Bonneville, right? Who reached the semi-final in Britain's Got Talent about 3 or 4 years ago. Amazing singer from the borough. Extraordinary voice. She's a kid. She's like 19 or something, right? And Krista Berg on the stage in Monkstown Church singing Spaceman Came Traveling.
yes. I wanted to bring this song up.
And this melted my head. This is just one of the most extraordinary things I've ever seen. These three incredibly talented singers with three very, very different voices. Paul is a tenor. And actually, that's what it cost to get into the gig last night. Krista Berg is Krista Berg, and Leah Bonneville has this stunning operatic voice, right? And they sang A Spaceman Came Traveling, and anybody who was there and heard this will never forget it, right? Anyway, I was thinking last night, I was at this gig, and Paul, who's extraordinary, another legend of the borough, right? He finished the gig with "Oh Holy Night," which I think is probably the greatest, maybe the greatest Christmas
Carol.
hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that and Silent Night, and he sang Silent Night as well, you know? So anyway, I want to talk to you about this because I was listening to "Oh Holy Night," and I was thinking that Christmas for me changed when I stopped believing in God. Completely changed, right? The magic went out. Like, forget about when you stop believing in Santa Claus. It's a watershed moment in Christmas. You know, when you're.
And what age are we talking here?
When I stopped believing in God. Well, I mean, the thing is, like Gary, like us all, I suspect, I never really did believe, but Father Hastings got me when my head was soft, and so you know, they filled my head with all the stuff, and then it's sort of 21, 22 when it all happened, I think, you know. But for me, Christmas, the joy, and I was thinking about this last night, right? When Paul Byram was on that stage singing "Oh Holy Night," and he sang the line, "Fall on your knees, oh hear the angel voices, oh night divine, oh night when Christ was born." I remember a time in my life when that would have brought me to tears. Would have brought me to tears, right?
Really?
So, yeah, completely. And it's not an accident, Mero, because Christians understood music, and they understood how to get you emotionally. Do you know what I mean? Like how to kind of prick your emotions. And I was listening to that last night, and I was listening to Silent Night, which is just such a gorgeous song, like, you know. And I just was thinking, like, forget Santa Claus. The moment I stopped believing in God was the moment Christmas changed for me, and a lot of the joy ran out of Christmas. And I was looking at people there last night who still believe in God, and I was so envious. And I know, you know, people tuning in to listen to this tonight, like they want to hear me and Gary talk about our favorite Quality Street, or, you know, Mr. Kipling Christmas cakes. I like the Viennese whirls actually this year.
Delicious, yeah.
But I thought we might open a theological debate tonight, if that's okay with you guys.
I'm game for this, Paul, because
what's the question?
Actually, yeah, we'll start with that.
Are we as believers?
No.
Right.
God,
so
no.
none of us believe,
Absolutely
right?
not.
We're damned, right? We're four heathens, right? But did any of you ever believe?
Well, I think you believe when you're kind of in primary school, don't you? Because you don't know any better.
Yes.
Yeah, when you're in primary school, you used to have the priest visiting the school maybe once every 2 weeks, and you're doing communion and confirmation. But I mean, I think when we got to Lawrence's, I suppose, and they're still doing the masses and they're reading out verses of the Bible. I was kind of going, none of this actually makes sense. Do people actually believe this? And it becomes then just another book. To me, when I was about 12 or 13, it's like people have just taken this book very, very seriously. That's I understand what you're saying though, in terms of you're envious of people believing that. But I'm sure that might leave your body after this kind of period, and you won't be thinking like that come January or whatever. Maybe.
No, I think I do envy people who have faith. I mean, like, I don't, like, I'm quite a rational person. So, I did arrive at a point in my life where I kind of, I analyzed it and went, yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. And it's a really good story, right? With a fantastic team and a great lesson, love one another and all that kind of thing. But just that, they called it the greatest story ever told, right? The nativity is the greatest story ever told.
Is it though?
And it really is, because it's this sort of against all odds story. I mean, like when you watch thrillers, Hollywood thrillers, they're all kind of based on the same principle. Like, like this family who are on the run. There's a powerful man who's trying to track them down. They turn up at a stable, and you kind of think, they turn up in an inn first, and they're told, no, there's no room, and you kind of think they're goners. And the guy says, well, you can sleep in the stable. I mean, if you're writing a Hollywood blockbuster, the whole thing about writing movies is every like 9.5 minutes, you have to have an obstacle. And then you have to have a resolution to the obstacle. And when the resolution happens, you have to come up with another obstacle. And the nativity satisfies all those things. Like 1,500, nearly 2,000 years before anybody actually sort of scientifically stated what a script should contain. Like the whole plot, the whole kind of narrative of, it starts there and then it goes there, and then resolution, and then, anyway, that's all. There's a kind of arc to writing a script. And it's almost like the people who wrote the nativity story, and I think they all had a crack at it, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they all had their own version of it. It's like they understood exactly how to script a story.
Was the greatest story ever told not the Only Fools and Horses Christmas Special 1985 when Del Boy's father shows up?
Yeah. in many ways. Like I had an experience last night, so I'm probably a bit religiously sensitive today, But
do you see that experience last night bringing you back?
Yeah, but only in the sense that I'm very nostalgic about
old feelings.
Yeah, about old feelings, and you kind of have to watch them at Christmas time because you can actually mistake them for real feelings, But so I wouldn't enter a church. I wouldn't enter a Catholic church. I'd go for funerals or weddings or whatever. I haven't been to a wedding in years, but I'm going to more and more funerals now. But I would still be sort of tied emotionally to hymns, stained glass windows, the smell of incense, like all those kind of things. Those things that, and like I said at the start, it's not a coincidence that they draw you back in, because stained glass windows are designed in that way with the colors to kind of get you to go, woo, you're kind of hypnotized by the beauty and the colors of them. The smell of incense is exactly the same. It sort of sucks you in, and the music and all that kind of thing. But I was very struck by it last night, I really was. And I'm looking around me at all these people who really believe, and they're not faking it. And I was probably faking it for the last sort of 2 or 3 years when I kind of claimed to believe, but I really kind of was I was there last night and I was thinking, Jesus, Christmas is not the same when you don't believe. Like, to me, like, Christmas is a roast dinner now, right?
Yeah, I'm with you, and I completely agree about the hymns and whatever, because like you were saying, like the oh Holy Night, there's particular versions of that song that would still move me to tears. Like I remember a couple of years ago driving home, and the Lyric FM were playing kind of, I think it was Christmas Eve, and Lyric FM were playing kind of, the best of the best of kind of Christmas hymns and whatever, So they had the Adeste Fidelis, they had Oh Holy Night, and it was the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, and it was just big, powerful fucking organ piece and whatever. And I could feel myself welling up and whatever with it, you know what I mean? So I get what you mean with it, but like,
music does have the power to do that.
I was going to say, music I think can do that, and I think the sentiment with it and everything. But I just, I don't like the nativity thing. I mean, I feel as though they've kind of borrowed bits of that here and there. Like, I mean, is there anything that went before Christianity that didn't have some sort of reference to these kind of things? It's a bit of Romulus and Remus mixed with a bit of Egyptian mythology, mixed with a bit of stuff from the Far East. And you mentioned the spaceman comes traveling. That's a way better version of it. That it involves fucking sci-fi and an alien coming down. I'm more into that in terms of the nativity story. Give me fucking spaceships and people not having a clue what's going on, and I'm on board.
Yeah, I mean, even the notion of following a star, right? And if you think about it tonight, like if you saw a star moving, like they followed a star from, what was it, Jerusalem to Bethlehem, which is about the distance from Shankill to Greystones. Like,
you didn't have a night link in those days, of course.
Like, it's probably about
down the dart.
And I've been to Jerusalem and Greystone and Bethlehem and Cabinteely, right? And if you were, can you imagine tonight you're sitting on a camel and you're looking up at a star and you see it move and you go, geez, I wonder where that's headed, right? You'd be thinking celestially. Do you know what I mean? You'd be thinking that's moving into a different solar system. You wouldn't be thinking, Jesus, I think that's heading for Greystones.
You believe it though.
Like, so you're sitting on your camel outside the Horse and Hound in Cabinteely, and this star moves, and you go, Jesus, I think that's going to end up in the Burnaby, by the way. You follow it. No, so in no sense does the story of the nativity stand up to any kind of reasonable, rational explanation, like, astrologically or physically or in any way. But it's a great story, like, it's a fantastic story. We debate it here in the house because we were putting the crib up this week, as we do every year. We're putting the crib together. And Mary would be a firm believer that you don't put Jesus into the crib until Christmas Day.
Oh, very good.
Right? And apparently that's a tradition. It's a tradition, and to do it is almost blasphemous. But my problem is, because I think like a scriptwriter or a storyteller, I think, why are Mary and Joseph staring into an empty crib first week of December until the 25th of December? What they expecting to see there, right? She's pregnant, right? He is wondering how she's pregnant, and they're sitting in a stable for almost 4 weeks staring at an empty manger, right? The baby's inside you, Mary. Why are you... And then we have to debate about, so I put my foot down and I say, right, if we're going to be historically accurate about this, and you're keeping so we keep Jesus in the press underneath where we keep the crib. He's there with the backup Quality Street in the press underneath, right? So I say, if you're being historically accurate, the three wise men don't arrive until the 6th of January. So take them out. They're going in on the 6th of January, which is the day we take the decorations down. So what's the point in even having the three wise men?
Paul, if you don't have a faith, how come you have the crib?
Well, Mary would have a faith, Mero, you know.
Oh, okay.
It's just a decoration anyway, isn't it, though? You know, it's just... Like,
Yeah.
I
More than a decoration in the Howards.
Darth Vader, and I put my Star Wars figures in it and everything.
But this is it. I learned this week, right? And I think this is fucking brilliant. So, like...
I seen a penguin in one during the week.
That's even better again. But in Catalonia, I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's like this little fella he's squatting having a shy. And the idea of it, this is like fucking Elf on the Shelf kind of thing, right? They hide him in the crib in the nativity scene. And the idea is the kid in the house comes down every morning, has to try and find them. And if they find them, they get like a sweet or something like that. But it's a genuine tradition in Catalonia to have this little lad who was defecating and you hide him in the nativity scene. And I was like, that's way better.
Their independence, and you know, having heard that, I think we should hold off on Catalonian independence. I don't think they're ready, lads. I just don't think they're ready. Like, if you heard that about the North, you would say, like, if you heard, like, you know, nationalists were doing that in the North, you would say, we're not ready for United Ireland. Let's wait years before a border poll.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I love the theological route that this conversation has taken tonight, lads. You know,
it's not gone the direction I thought it was, Paul. But
No.
But I do like this. I like that it's out, like, it's on the table now. The true meaning of Christmas, the religious tradition and everything.
Do you have a nativity, Gary?
No. But just to go back to what Paul said about churches, and he said something about stained glass and whatever. Like, I don't have a faith, but I remember when my dad died, I was working in Dundrum, and I had no business going into a church because I'm not religious. But it was a few days after he died, I said, you know what, I'll go in. I walked into the church in Dundrum, and I was the only person in it. And when the door shut behind me, it felt like a giant had pushed it. You know, that's how quiet it was. But I sat down and it smelled like a church and all that. But I got this really strong smell of cigarettes. And I don't smoke, but my dad would have been a smoker. Now, he was off them years. But for that split second, I felt, fuck, he was around there for a second. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Really felt it. So I think I don't have a faith, but there's probably something that draws you back in your subconscious, if you get me. But if you think about it, from the late 80s up until really now, the church has been dragged through so much shit. So we're used to, as kind of 8-year-olds, really hearing all this stuff about priests and the church. So we have probably been reared somewhat differently to the generation before. Like, the Catholic Church to me is a cesspit. You know, whether it be killing kids, selling kids, torturing them, whatever, hoarding land, facilitating paedophilia. Really, that's what the church is to me.
No, but that is what the church means to a lot of people, though. Do you know? So when it's so hard for people, I know all of those, all of the list there that Gary mentioned is not the faith; it's the people that deliver the faith. But it is why a lot of people lost faith.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
as well as it not making sense, though.
Yeah, but I still think the message of Christianity is sound, and is something that I would believe in, like, and I would struggle to live up to, which is, you know, love one another as I have loved you. I mean, it is like the Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount is still like the greatest kind of, you know, what would you say? Like, it's the greatest kind of moral story of our times. Like, it's a template for how to live your life. And if everybody could live their life in that way, then it would be a happier world. But like with everything, and I mean everything. I'm talking about religion. I'm talking about wokeism. I'm talking about everything, right? The central message is really sound and a really good idea. And then we build bureaucracies around these things, and we build rules, and we build, the notion of original sin, and we build the notion of wrong think, people who kind of differ from the consensus, and we build in punishments for those people who think differently, and we essentially destroy the essential message. I mean, we've even created a bureaucracy out of heaven. Like Jesus in the Bible, he talks about heaven and he talks about the afterlife, but never does he mention a communion of saints that you can pray to, and that's like essentially like Dunleary Rathdown County Council, where Eamon Gilmore has the ear of that person, and Betty Coffey and Jane Dillon Byrne have the ear of that official. So if you want something done, ring them or pray to them. Like we essentially created a civil service out of religion, and we kind of gave it the sort of civil service death touch. You know what I mean? We just sort of destroyed it by overthinking it with our flipping human thoughts, And so it went from being this incredible celestial thing to being essentially an extension of Leinster House, right? So, do you know what I mean?
Run by the Rural Independent Coalition.
But the heaven we've created is full of Jackie Healy-Raes, Michael Healy-Raes. You can actually find this stuff on the internet. There's a saint for everything, right? There's a saint for corns on your feet. There's a saint for the internet. I swear to you, I'm not making this up.
Paul,
right? There's a saint for the internet. So if something goes wrong on the internet, you can pray to Saint such and such of such and such, and he's your guy, right? So he's your Michael Healy-Raes in heaven. So he's going to go to God if you follow it through to its logical conclusion. This Michael Healy-Raes guy, who's the patron saint of the internet, is going to go to God and go, do you know who's after being praying to me there? Gary Mackle. Oh, what's happened with him? He lost a document earlier on, and he said, but did he not save it? Yeah, he did, but he saved it to the cloud, and there's some kind of some sort of problem in the cloud. And God goes, do you know what? Fucking give it to him. Give it back to him. And then Gary gets his document back, and he goes, it's a miracle. And I've done, even since I stopped believing in God, I've done this with St. Anthony, praying to St. Anthony for stuff, And it is, he's Stephen Donnelly up in West Wicklow. He's in kind of the West Wicklow of heaven, or the East. Where is he? West Wicklow.
Has Matty McGrath made an appearance at all?
Matty McGrath's up there, And of course, but we've turned heaven into this sort of parish pump place where everybody has the ear of God, and someone will put a word in for you, because we simply cannot conceive of the heaven that Jesus talked about in the Bible. We have to sort of place our kind of human construct above it,
But even all that stuff, Paul, it's just a rinse and repeat of what went before it. So that's it's right. So all the saints, like you said, you have a saint for everything now. They're just the gods of ancient Greece replaced with more modern titles, And when we talk about people being punished and whatever, Prometheus punished by Zeus, having his liver pecked out by an eagle on the cliff every day. All these it's just these more modern constructs applied to all these previous religions that existed. And it's that kind of thing that I go, fuck it, they're all just borrowing each other's homework, aren't they?
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. You can't arrive, when the Roman Catholics were kind of doing their tour around Europe and the Middle East with their message, you can't just suddenly rock up and say absolutely everything you've ever believed is horseshit. Here's the thing, and give people a new religion. So what you do is you sort of tell them that, well, look, actually, you were almost right. These bits, you remember that winter solstice you believed in? That's fantastic. But we've got this thing, it's called Christmas. It's 3 days or 4 days later. It's very similar, but it's called Christmas. So it was like they put an overlay over existing religions because it was too much of a culture shock for people to go, what? This is completely new. And it's the same with Mormonism. You can't, like, Mormonism's great failure was they pushed people too far. And what happens in those cases is people are kind of looking at, what's the guy's name? Smith? Was it Smith? It was the religion. And they just went, lads, that's a bit too much. And they battered him to death. And, so there were loads of martyrs in the Christian faith, but they were always the ones who pushed it a bit too far, who didn't kind of, you got to do a little bit for the home crowd,
There's always someone that ruins it.
You got to do some of the early stuff. It's like, it's like if a band comes and they're playing a gig and they go, every single song they go, here's something from our new album. And after a while you go, here. Stuff, lads, So like the solstice and all that, that's the early stuff. So you have to give them the greatest hits, right? So you have to give them Listum Varna Mero.
Yeah.
Right? You have to give them Don't Forget Your Shovel. What else?
Joxer.
You got to give them Joxer Goes to Stuttgart.
Ordinary Man.
4 or 5 songs in, you go, here's something from my new album. And people go, okay, well, I'll listen to this with open ears. And that's religion.
I think the analogy is very good. Yeah,
that's a great way.
I like the analogy.
Is that our intro?
I don't know what that is, but I feel enlightened after it. I want to go back to A Spaceman Came Travelling. Can we talk a little bit about Chris de Boer for a minute?
I think Paul went back to Chris de Boer's last night and they were taking DNT or something.
Well, Chris told me the story of A Spaceman Came Travelling, right? And it's an amazing story about how he wrote it. And I wish I could remember it. But like Gary said, it was a long night. But anyway, essentially, Chris, it was in the early 1970s, right? And Chris had been playing, and I call him Chris because he's a pal of mine, right? So let's not skirt around this, right?
you and Chris are on first name terms now.
Chris, or C, as I call him. I know. But Chris was playing Captain America's on Grafton Street with his guitar, right, trying to make it, and he went to London, and he was living in London, and he was living in a flat with a friend of his, and he read a book, and I can't remember the name of it, so it's completely useless, right?
It was Something of the Gods.
That's it.
Yeah.
Something of the Gods, right? You'll find it on Amazon. Right? Anyway, he read. Anyway, it was all about. It was a sort of fusion story of Christianity and science fiction, and that's where A Spaceman Traveling came from. It is, without a shadow of a doubt, the strangest Christmas song ever written. But I love it,
So I heard it. I must put it on.
Have you never heard of Spaceman Came? You definitely have, Gary.
Sing it for me.
I just haven't listened to the song.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Chris, there's a point when it's reaching its crescendo where the vocal range of Chris de Boer is exercised in a way that it's an experience. It's beautiful.
And he did it last night in Monkstown Church, Danny, and he hit notes last night, and Paul Byram and Leah hit notes as well, and it was a very spiritual experience. Like I'm kind of a bit changed today. You probably notice a bit of a difference about me today. Like
I thought it was just the
acid
Stillorgan
trip,
apartment, to be honest.
It'll wear off you by tomorrow evening, Paul. Don't worry about it.
That's what acid does to you, Paul.
I tell you what, Gary, it nearly wore off me today. Right, I was in the post office, and I was posting.
You love the post office, don't you, Paul?
Yeah, some of me testiest moments come in the post office. Like, you know, that's what brings the real anger out in me is the post office. And I was standing there today, and Mary had asked me to post some. She was posting some Mr. Kipling Christmas cakes to a friend of hers in Holland, who lives in The Hague. And I was standing in the queue. And I didn't mind that we were queuing for like 9 minutes, right? Or 10 minutes, whatever it was. There was a woman in front of me. She got 4 or 5 parcels to post, and she had to tell the value of each and fill in a customs document. I didn't care, right? But the guy behind me just kept tutting, right? He kept going, right? Now, like, it just annoys me so much. He just kept going, and it just got me, it stressed me out. Not waiting. I don't mind waiting. I'd have waited for an hour, right? But him. So I just turned around to him and I said, do you know what? Maybe if you sighed a bit louder and, you know, twice as often, the queue might move a bit fucking faster. And he sort of backed it, like he kind of looked at me and thought, Jesus, like, you know, so we backed it because I wasn't ready for a confrontation. But it doesn't take much now just to sort of pull me out of the feelings of celestial spiritualism.
Especially in the post office.
Like, you know, like it's no excuse, like it's no coincidence that the phrase "going postal," somebody went postal, like, you know, that it happens in the post office. There's just something about queuing and the tension, and are you going to get your parcel posted? And it just sort of contributes to that, you know. I don't like post offices. I'm kind of lucky that we have an amazing post office in Avoca, and the postmistress is Mary. She's a Liverpool fan, and she's, you know, obviously brilliant. Like, you know, she's a fantastic person, and she's really helpful, and she's really cheery when you go in. But I would have to say that would not be typical of my experience in post offices, not just in Ireland, but in the wider world as well.
Do you think they'll ever privatise the post office, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I did say to a post office worker once, like, you know, that the day they privatise the post office, you'll be sacked at about 11 o'clock in the morning. Right? And I remember, I'm not going to name the post office, like, but I'd had problems like for problems many times going in there, right? But one time I went in there, Gary, right? It's about 3 years ago. It wasn't Christmas. It was Christmas, actually. It was Christmas. And I had a parcel and I was posting it, and I'd pre-bought the stamps. And I don't know why. She was annoyed that I pre-bought the stamps and I was just handing the parcel in to be posted, right? I bought the stamps a couple of weeks earlier, and she weighed it to make sure I had the right amount of stamps. And I did have the right amount of stamps. And she said to me, she looked at the parcel and she said, they shouldn't be on the left-hand side. They should be on the right-hand side, right? I
Stop.
Instead of right? And I went, does that really matter? Right? And she said to me, well, maybe not to you, but I can't guarantee it'll be delivered. You kind of think, is it really that tenuous? Do you know what I mean? Like, is the whole relationship between man and the postal service really so tenuous that if you're a couple of inches out with the placement of the stamps, a postman will go, no, I'm fucking that in the bin. That is how it works. I suspect it isn't, because postmen are always lovely people. I've had letters delivered to my house and just says Paul Howard, Avoca, Wicklow. And John, our local postman, is an amazing guy. Like, you know, he'll go, "Oh, another one for you. Look at that address." You know what I mean? Like it, and it gets there. And postmen are in the sorting office, like challenging themselves, saying, you know, I just imagine them like out of a Christmas movie, like the Santa Claus or something, going, I have to get this card first.
Yeah, much fan mail, Paul.
Fan mail? No. That was a solicitor's letter, actually.
You do get fan mail though.
No, not really. No.
Oh, you do, Paul. You definitely do.
Stuff you send me, Gary, or you, Mero, like.
Yeah.
Well, not really. No, I'd love a stalker. No, I'd love a stalker or something to send me. You know, stuff I mentioned earlier. I love those Viennese whirls that Mr. Kipling's doing this year, and I like the peanut M&Ms and stuff like that. But like, just if anyone's out there listening, they wanted to stalk me. But no, there's been nothing like that, sadly, you know.
Have you tried the peanut?
Rock and roll, Gary, like, you know, it's not like nobody ever stood in front of the mirror and played air laptop. You know, people play air guitar, like that's what you dream of. But what I do is it's not rock and roll. Like you wouldn't be getting like people throwing themselves at you because they liked an review or something, you know?
Danny, remember I got hate mail?
I vaguely remember you getting hate mail. Yeah.
There was a fake spider in it.
Really?
Yeah. We were up in the hotel. We were in the room where we used to record. And the reception said, Graham. And I said, yeah. And she says, there's post here for you. I was like, what the hell is this? And I was thinking, Jesus, Danny, do you think someone's out there sending us a package or whatever? So I went down. It was a letter, a bit bubble wrap. And opened it in front of Danny, and a fucking fake spider jumped out. Plastic spider jumped out.
And fake spider, was it? It might have been a handful of somebody's pubes.
which brings us on to our sponsor, Manscaped. And if you go to...
It said they were sick of my...
What happened to Manscaped, lads? There was no mention of them, I noticed, at the top of the programme.
Yeah, creative differences, Paul, and we've shaved ourselves to the point where we've got rash now, so we had to give it a break.
They asked Mero for feedback, and he sent them a picture. I don't think that's what they wanted.
Smart Alec here, wasn't it, Gary?
Well, come here. Why did you get hate mail?
It said in the it was only like 2 sentences. 2 Graham, please shut up with your socialist rhetoric. Thanks, and the spider popped out. Yeah. And I came home, and me and Danny were laughing about it, like
it was like Maria Bailey.
And I came home and I said it to my mum and dad, and my dad broke a shot laughing. My mum was petrified. What if they knock at the door? I was like, would you stop?
They sent it to the hotel, not to the house, Jen. It's all right.
Yeah, it's all right, but I still don't know who sent it to this day. It looked like a prank, you know. It looked like it was sent from a website as opposed to somebody. Was it you, Paul?
Will you tell him, Gary?
Was it yours? Was it?
No, you'll never know now.
I thought it was yours, though. That's about 5 years ago.
Scraped on it, Mero.
Huh?
We were the ones who sent the bullet with your name scraped on it.
English Defence League.
Gary, have you any stories for us, or anything off your mind, or anything you need to get off your chest? You've been quite quiet. I know Paul took over there with his theological.
I didn't expect it to go down the route that it went, but I enjoyed it. No, I'm in good form. I'm glad Ollie is gone, obviously. Not having to look at Poison every week. Looking forward to seeing where it goes with Ralph. Looking forward to Christmas. Busy in work, kept going. We were doing a thing in work where we go live to a shop every Saturday. So one of the staff members will grab one of the punters on the shop, and the punter will go live on the screens. And on the next race, if he picks the winner, everyone in the shop gets 20 quid free bet, or if the bet loses,
nice,
everyone gets a tenner. So the Greystone shop rang me and said, listen, we're going live in 20 minutes, but there's no one in the fucking shop. So I said, fuck. So I said, I know what I'll do. I said, I'll ring pal of mine, Dave Malone, absolute fruitcake. But I said, Dave, are you at home? He said, yeah, what's the story? I said, any chance you'd boot down to the shop, like just needs to do something for a few minutes? He said, yeah, man, when do I need to go down? I said, now. He said, yeah, I'll boot down. I went, good man. And the minute I hung up the phone, I thought, oh, fuck. The fuck did I ask Malone to do it for? So I said, fuck. So I got on with my morning and I rang Goffo. Goffo's managing the Greystone shop now. I said, did Malone go down and do the Paddy versus punter thing? He says, yeah. I said, how did it go? He said, yeah, well, we got it over the line anyway. So they went live into the shop and they said to Dave, is there many people in the shop, Dave? And Dave said, yeah, I haven't seen as big a crowd like this since I went dogging there a few weeks ago. That was the first thing. But you know, when you have that moment, I'll get Malone will go down. And the minute I hung up the phone, I went, oh, good fucking night. The last person in the world. But no, life is just kind of this. It's the same every week at the moment, isn't it? Because we're in this funk the last 19 months now, are we?
20.
And it's just like we're saying earlier, just can't wait for normality. Looking forward to this shite being over, you know.
Yeah, it's just when you talked about your calling upon a friend when you were in need there, Gar. It just actually, I'm triggered by it, to be honest with you. I've a bone to pick with Graham Merrigan, and my shot at fame, Graham, stopped airing a number of weeks ago, and you still haven't supported it. And I want to bring it up with witnesses on the call now.
I haven't supported what?
See, he's even acting like he doesn't know what I'm talking about.
We're talking about Gogglebox.
Gogglebox, and you're clearly not a fan, Mero. You know what were you watching?
He claims he's a fan, Paul, and yet it sat on a Skybox. The show finished airing 6 weeks ago, and he hasn't watched it.
No, I watched every episde.
Thank you,
Danny. I thought you were excellent on it. Actually, great show.
Thank you.
I watched the first 3, and the rest are on Series Link.
Oh, all right. Your tone has changed now, Graham.
I didn't know what you were on about. You caught me off guard.
Mm.
I only ever do this when Dylan and Ben are on.
City when Mero was in it.
Paul, not only did I watch it, I rewound it. I recorded it on my phone so I'd have a pirate copy of it, and I put it up on Pornhub so people could see it around the world.
No greater gesture could a friend make. I think that's
this is it. Like, I mean, I have travelled to watch Graham play basketball. I've cheered him on from the sidelines. I've took tours of Carrickstown with I Love Rocco t-shirts just to try and plant the seed to bring him back. And there I am sitting on his Skybox for a number of weeks now, and not even a text message of, well done, that was a good episode. Nothing.
You've done, very easy for me to say, but you've done really well.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you.
Did you enjoy doing it?
I had an absolute blast doing it. Yeah, I would have loved if, I got support from friends.
Yeah.
I got support the ones that I watched. I text you asking you questions and saying you were dead. You weren't on it enough for the first 3 episodes.
Interesting.
You should have been on it a lot more.
It's
Is
funny.
that not Graham in a nutshell, though? If it doesn't revolve around him,
Now here we go.
he doesn't want to know.
Here we go.
This is it.
Paint me in a horrible light.
No, but we're just talking openly in an open forum.
I supported you when you were on Frank.
I didn't need your support when I was on Frank.
Right. No one's ever seen. No one. It's nowhere to be seen.
Well, 1.7 million people who viewed it over 4 settings might disagree with that.
Can't be wrong. What was it?
1.7 million people viewed it over 4 sittings.
He's lying there, Paul. You didn't even see it, Paul.
I'm not fucking lying.
You're lying.
I'm not lying.
How do you know those figures?
Because I was given them by the publisher.
They can be supplied. They are supplied.
Coco Productions.
Coco Productions supply them figures. Yeah.
Wasn't
That is a fact.
wasn't it syndicated in several international markets, Gary?
Of course it was. Sure, I was on a podcast in Iceland about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
No, you were.
I was, Graham.
No. Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and be sneered at by you.
The only podcast in town, and I say that as somebody who recently appeared on the Two Johnnies.
Oh, you dirty rotten fucker, by the way.
Oh, it's all coming out now. It's all coming out now.
Very
I
surprised.
had no idea that there was this cultural sensitivity relating to the Two Johnnies, that they're basically the bogger version of What's the Story.
Well, listeners of What's the Story should be aware that when it came to light that Paul Howard was on the Two Johnnies, we have a WhatsApp group, and it got very hostile towards Paul.
Did. And it's usually a friendly place. I would consider that a safe space, Gary.
Well, you're lucky that we didn't go to town on you. That's all I'll say.
Oh, I mean, I would, no, but I still felt it. I still felt the heat. Like, I would consider that, like I said, I would consider that usually a very, very safe space for me. The kind of place where I could usually admit that, I just think Seamus Heaney's poetry is okay. But suddenly it turned dark. It wasn't a friendly place.
I was waiting to see the little blue message Paul has left.
Yeah, I mean, all I did, Gary, was appear on this rival podcast, and
We're just wondering why.
Well, it's not. Well, hang on. I'd like to clarify something here.
He's trying to grow his brand.
They're not rivals. We've done
more podcasts probably 6 or 7 times, as you said at the top of the show, and and I love it. You guys are great, but it hasn't helped grow my brand outside of Dublin, and I really needed to connect with people in Roscommon and Leitrim and Tipperary.
But Paul, none of those counties have the internet, so I'm not.
Well, they have dial-up, They have. They made their pitch to me, and I said, guys, I love what you're doing, and I got in the car, and it wasn't like here where I'm in my sitting room and I just fire up the laptop and click on the link. I drove to Care, County Tipperary, to appear on that show.
Really?
You must have been paid.
Did you get mileage?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No mileage, no payment, no money exchange hands. I wouldn't.
On a promise.
I wouldn't insult anybody by taking money. No, it was just purely for. I love their show. I love what they're doing. It's a different kind of podcast.
Oh my good God!
I think they're.
You're talking bollocks now.
I think they're terrific.
That's another.
He'll be on that next.
Yeah, he'll be on that next.
I feel as though this is we're the secondary school girlfriend, and it's the summer after 6th year.
Yeah. Rory McElroy. You're Rory McElroy's first girlfriend. What was her name? Right? The Danish one he went off with.
Yeah, the Danish tennis player. Yeah, the two Johnnies are the Danish tennis player.
The two Johnnies are her, but
yeah.
He didn't marry her in the end. He went off with somebody else, didn't he?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Well, Paul,
do you know what that'll be? That'll be Joanne McNally and Vogue Williams podcast.
Listen,
but I'm asked to go on that, lads. Oh, gee.
Look, all I'll say.
I'll let you.
All I'll say, Paul, is the two Johnnies have sold out the Tree Arena. They're brilliant at what they do, but they'll never bring you to the Tree Arena with them. But you don't forget, we've brought you to Fitzpatrick Castle, and if we're in the Tree Arena, there'd be at least an exchange of text messages checking if the date was free. That's
lads. I couldn't sell out the Whale Theatre in Greystones last week. In fairness, there was restriction, like we were cut to 50%, but Wicklow County Council had to come in at the last minute and basically financially support the gig to ensure everybody got paid. And I'm not complaining. It was a brilliant gig, and I love that theatre in Greystones. It's just the best. I think it's the best small venue in Ireland to play a gig.
Did they play God Save the Queen before the gig?
What's that, Mero?
Did they play God Save the Queen before the gig?
Naturally, because you're in England there, like that is you're in like I call Greystones a south side Skerries for Protestant underachievers. It essentially is really it's like Protestants who were like, when you look at a Protestant who hasn't really made it and you think, what went wrong there? You know the way Protestants, like, they're just better at stuff, aren't they?
It's a
Paul, are you on
part of the world.
Paul, are you on that Irish fight thing?
No, what's that, Mero?
It's basic. Do you ever hear of Cameo?
No.
Where like people? No, it's like people in the public eye. So
he only has WhatsApp the last year. He's hardly heard of fucking Cameo.
I was going to say, Mero, you're pushing
his representatives might suggest to as an extra earner. Basically, if you were to go on it, say even as Ross, you'll have all Black Rock lads saying, "Hey, Ross, can you play a message? You charge 50 quid for a treat."
That's what Farage got caught doing, wasn't
it?
Yeah.
Exactly. Roddy Collins is on the Irish fight one. He's on the Irish one. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he charges about, I think it's €75, and
for a message.
He's always sending out like birthday messages, and his mates, like, say if I was doing it for Gary, I'd write out a script and ask Roddy to do it, and Roddy does it in the sitting room beside the fire.
I do that stuff for free. He would say to me, "Oh, will you do a message for my brother-in-law's wedding?" And I do that for free. Maybe I should get on that as well,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
You do a bomb if you're doing Ross stuff, pal.
Yeah, maybe.
Big time, tell you.
Maybe I should get Rory Nolan can act it and I'll write it or something.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a genius, isn't he, Rory?
Dundalk Football Club I think they were sponsors, and they got your man from The Sopranos, and he's on it.
Who?
Saw that, yeah.
Yeah, what was the character's name? Sopranos. He was the gay character, the fat lad.
Pussy, no, not Pussy.
Not Pussy. Vito, was it?
Yes.
Vito. So Vito, they sent Vito over Dundalk jerseys and scarves and hats and all, and they wished Dundalk a good season and good luck in the cup final and all. It's off that website, Irish Fight.
That's fucking mad.
Yeah. But Cameo is the American one where you can literally get anyone from Cher to Britney Spears to any of them, where you pay them like $250 for a birthday greeting, a personalized video.
But would Britney and Cher be so loaded, Like, I just kind of think, if I was Britney or Cher, like, I just get up in the morning, like, I get up at 11 o'clock and just wander down and, have a breakfast and just step out.
Sure. Surely the likes of Britney, Cher could shine into a bag and sell it for $100,000, I'd imagine.
At least.
Not just sitting on her phone doing a video for $200.
I just threw those names out there, but there are people of those caliber on it.
But why would they be bothered doing that for 50 quid, Mero?
Well, the higher
give them back to their fans.
The higher the rank of celebrity, the more they charge. Like Donald Trump Jr. was charging $2,000 a pop for a video.
But even $2,000, like, if you had their kind of money, would you be bothered?
$2,000 for 30 seconds work though.
But there's Irish people that get Roddy Collins to do it. He's making money off it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But you'd get more money from doing that than you would managing the League of Ireland team, wouldn't you?
No.
Is that not true, Mero? Like, what do you get for managing the League of Ireland team? About 100 quid a week?
No, stop that, Paul, would you?
What is it then?
League of Ireland, like?
Yeah.
About 1,000, would it?
They'd be
1,000? Sure, I'd be doing that if it was 1,000.
Well, you'd be managing Liverpool if it was that.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to manage Liverpool.
You couldn't manage a good shy, Paul.
Jesus, that's harsh, Mero.
Mero, you're a shareholder of Shamrock Rovers, aren't you?
I'm a member and a shareholder, yeah.
Yeah, so what's Stephen Bradley getting?
I wouldn't know the specific information.
Why not as a shareholder?
Well, you don't know. Like, when you become a member...
You're not a shareholder then. You're a fucking agent who pays a premium to be called a shareholder.
I'm a shareholder in 3 companies, Graham, and I know the salary of the CEO of each of those companies.
It's like me saying I'm a shareholder in Sky because I get the football every week, Mero.
Yeah, but that's your season ticket, Paul. You watch your team on the telly. I go to the match.
Oh, for God's sake. It's the stupidest argument.
It's a cult, isn't it? It's a little cult. He has no information. He has no idea what's going on behind the scenes.
I go to League of Ireland matches, right? In the same way I go to Mass. Like about twice a year, the guilt hits me and I go, I really should go to a League of Ireland match, right? Like I say, I really should go to Mass. And then I go, and then about half an hour in, I go, what the fuck am I doing here?
That's because you're going to Bray Wanderers.
And then I leave before the communion. And then I'm sitting at home going, I won't be doing that again. And then about 6 months later, the guilt gets me again, like, you know. So
that's because you're going to Cabinteely before you're giving them their talks.
Yeah, I've been to a few. McWilliams had me in there giving a few pep talks in the dressing room before matches and stuff like that. Well, I've tried a lot of clubs in the League of Ireland, and I do find the football. I find the football.
Good.
Poor. A lot of times. Is that fair to say, Mero?
Say that again, Graham. Your mic didn't kick in.
That's your opinion. If you think it's poor, you think it's poor. I enjoy it. I love it. I more than enjoy it. I love it.
Is it fair to say you're a man of poor taste, Graham?
No.
Okay.
Do you think you've let yourself down at all with some of your statements over the years?
No. Do you think you've let yourself down?
I'm a guest who's asked you a question.
Yeah. I've answered you.
Lads. It's Saviour's Day in a week. Come on.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Saviour's Day.
Yeah.
I'm being picked on here because I'm a League of Ireland fan. Fuck you,
that's the subject of League of Ireland because it's a very depressing subject, you know. And let's talk about Christmas now. Is there Santa in your house, Gary? Like, are there believers in your house?
Yeah, we have 2 people who'll interact with it. Yeah. One of them, it's probably their last year. The other, we've somebody with about 5 years left. Yeah,
the other individual.
Yeah, we've two. We've 2 elf on the shelf on the go.
Oh, right, okay.
Is that hard work, Gary?
Oh, it's a nightmare, especially if you've had a couple of bottles of wine and you settle in bed. Oh, fuck the elves! And
what's the point in it, Gary? What is it?
What's the magic of Christmas, Graham? Would you stop that?
Magic of Christmas is like the way you still wear Macho Man Randy Savage underwear, Graham. You still believe. You still believe in the wrestling.
Randy has the Goldust onesie. I have the Dusty Rhodes onesie.
It's a bit of fun.
Hulk Hogan tops the tree in this house.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So. No star or angel, just a Hulkster.
But I am being sincere about the elf from the shelf. I don't really understand that or what the objective is, or
it's how
kids get excitement from it. I don't know what it is.
When you move it around the house and the kids go, "Oh, it was there last night, and now it's there," and the idea.
Exactly.
But I have seen it described as an ancient Irish tradition. Now I don't remember that at all in my childhood. I really don't. Like, it was never a thing. But when I was in Monkstown Church last night at the concert given by the great Paul Byram, right? I noticed there was an elf on the shelf on the altar of the church. Now I don't know who put it there, but I do know the Protestants, they're not into statues. The whole kind of idolatry thing is not a part of the Church of Ireland faith, you know. So there's no Virgin Mary, obviously, in the church. There's no statues of Jesus or Joseph or anything like that. But there was a little elf on the shelf sitting on the altar, and I thought that was mad, you know. Now, unless somebody put it there, one of the crowd put it there, you know. But I thought it was kind of interesting.
It creates a little bit of magic around, and a little bit of crack, and keeps them on their A game because, listen, the elves are listening to all this carry on now. They'll be very disappointed.
Is that one of the good benefits at this time of year, where essentially any misbehaving out of a child at all, and it's just, he's watching.
Well, it doesn't work. It's been a fucking kip here lately for behaviour.
How so?
I just
How?
the standard isn't where it needs to be.
They need to take a long look at themselves, Gar, do they?
I just fucking pair of pricks at times. But
Is there one worse than the other?
no, it's just it's. Do you know, you're repeating yourself a lot. You know, when you're saying the same thing all the time. Stop doing that. They do it again. Don't be doing that. Don't do it again. Bang, 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 bang.
That sounds like Mero on a date and the girl having to have a word with him.
Ah, Jesus, man, you relax yourself.
Sounds like Gully Gunner Solskjaer as well. Constantly saying the same thing over and over again and nobody listening to him.
Paul, from you that's covered sport professionally, when you looked at Ollie in a professional setting, as in a press conference or whatever, were you looking at him going, is this guy even coherent? Because he was clearly spoofing his way through everything.
Yeah, he was like a competition winner, really, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But it was kind of like they wanted it to work. They just really, really wanted it to work. You know, they tried Moyes, who was Ferguson's appointment. Then they tried Louis van Gaal, and then they tried Mourinho, and then it was like, well, what do we do now? And Ole worked for a short period, and they made the mistake of giving him a contract. And because they made that mistake, they had to
back him up,
kind of pretend it was actually working, you know. And you know, the only kind of decent, like, you know, United had a decent season last season, but it wasn't a proper season, really. Like, you know, like the fact that they had this,
like the season before, that shouldn't be recognised.
that was all right, Mero. I thought that was a good season. You know? It was kind of the last few were curtailed a little bit by COVID, but no, I thought that was a perfectly fine season. I'm very happy with that one, actually. But the following season, with like, it is amazing that United went on a record-breaking away run, away from home run, without anyone really noticing. Do you know what I mean? Like, within 3 weeks of the end of it, Solskjaer was sacked. Like, it didn't kind of amount to anything. You know, usually you would expect if a team went a season and a half without losing an away match that they would win the league. Like, that's extraordinary form, but it didn't really amount to anything. And that was just because in that season there was no such thing as an away match and a home match. Everything was just, because the grounds were empty, everything was just a training ground match, essentially, you know. And Solskjaer did well in that time, but like, Liverpool had a terrible season last year, or had kind of a three months of terrible football last year, and only finished 5 points behind United. You know, they weren't that far behind. And you know, United looked on that as something that they were going to build on. But I think Ferguson, not for the first time or the second time or the third time or the fourth time, completely screwed United over this year with the Ronaldo thing. Like,
where would they be without Ronaldo, though?
But they might be better off. They might still have Solskjaer as the manager. They might be like Ronaldo
better off without one of the best players in the world.
So when a Liverpool fan is saying, you know, it might be better off.
Jesus Christ!
Like,
come on now.
He just got them out of jail so many times this year.
But what does it amount to? You know, like he's a player capable of great moments, like Steven Gerrard, right? Loads of great moments, but never won the league. Out of all of it,
that's a very slippy topic, though.
Ew.
Listen, Merry Christmas anyway.
And Jordan Henderson is a better captain than Steven Gerrard.
Well, yeah, I think so. You know, but they're a better team. You know, it isn't just. Like, Jordan Henderson doesn't do what Gerrard did, which was, you know, trying to win every match with 9 shots from the edge of the box every time he gets the ball, like, you know. But I just think with United, I totally get what you mean about Solskjaer. There's great moments, and there's going to be a hell of a YouTube compilation of his best moments when he retires. But he was brought in to win. That we were told that he's coming in. He's the missing piece. United need a goal scorer. They need that world-class player who will help them win the league. They're not even going to make Champions League this year.
Yeah.
I don't think he was brought in for that, though, was he? It's just the fact that I don't think he was brought in to win the league. Come on, they're about three players short, four players short.
They finished second last year, and
Yeah.
they bought Sancho. We were told for the last 2 years that Sancho was essentially the new Maradona, and he arrives, and he's not even good enough to get his place in that United team. Varane, Ronaldo. They keep buying these players, and they say, well, that's the final piece now. They remind me of Liverpool in the 90s. It's like, he's the player now. This will make all the difference. And it doesn't make all the difference. And like Ferguson screwed the club. He really screwed them in, he fell out with the owners so the owners ended up selling to the Americans, the much maligned Americans who run the club, who I'm very sympathetic towards. I think they've done a fantastic job. Then he retired and gave them, 2 weeks notice of his retirement, if even that?
If even, yeah.
If you were to leave your job tomorrow, how much notice would you have to give?
2 weeks.
4 weeks.
Would you?
Oh, 4, is it? Sorry.
Mine was 3 months, right? But Ferguson basically said, right, that's the end of that. Go find my replacement. And they rushed into the Moyes appointment on his advice, right? And then he's still hanging around the club. He's still there in the director's box. And then if, what we're told is right, he intervened on the Ronaldo to Man City story and said, no, rang him and said, no, you got to come to United, which totally undermined Solskjaer, because Solskjaer was not a big enough personality, not a big enough character to deal with somebody like Ronaldo.
Yeah, but a manager's not going to turn down a chance to sign Ronaldo. And I mean, I think the whole Ferguson ringing him thing is like...
That's what Viola did.
It's tribalism. It's like, no, you can't be playing for our rivals. So we'd rather you...
What's that, Mero,
Huh?
Like, you saying, like, no manager would turn down Ronaldo. Jurgen Klopp would have turned him down.
Yeah, but Jurgen Klopp has 3 unbelievable strikers.
Yeah, but if Klopp was offered Ronaldo, he would have said, he's 36 years of age, he's a superstar, he will upset the balance of the team that we have. He's not the kind of player I'm looking for. I mean, look at Klopp. When Klopp got the offer for Coutinho, everybody said, why are you selling this player? He's magnificent. And Klopp is going, well, I can buy Alisson and Van Dijk and have money left over with the money I get from Coutinho, and he doesn't fit into my team. He's not the kind of player that fits into the system I want to play. Why not?
And he was never a £145 million player either.
He wasn't, I always remember, and you guys are much younger than me, but I always remember when Terry Venables took over at Barcelona, the first thing he did was he sold Maradona, right? And he sold probably the greatest player who's ever lived, because he didn't fit into what Venables wanted to do. And that's perfectly okay to admit that as a manager. Like, you're not building a testimonial team where you're picking, the 7 of the 10 best players in the world and trying to fit them into your team. You're trying to pick a team that will, work for you over the next sort of 3, 4, 5 years.
So do you think Solskjaer didn't want Ronaldo?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think Solskjaer was even asked whether he wanted Ronaldo. I mean, don't forget, this is a manager who never parked in the manager's parking space because he was terrified of Alex Ferguson. He said that, right?
No respect, though, no?
Yeah.
Well, it's not a respect. It's like...
No, is that Solskjaer's interpretation of that would be a respect thing.
No, but see, look around, right? Any successful manager... in any team, like, and I'm talking about like Gaelic football, I'm talking about rugby, I'm talking about football. They're alphas, they're alpha males, and that is beta behavior.
Yeah.
And it does not like it, it seems a kind of shallow thing to say, but it do. If I was a player playing for Solskjaer and I heard he was too scared to park in the manager's parking space because of this guy who's hanging around up in the stand, I would lose respect for him straight away.
You have to go in and own it from every second, every moment, and clearly.
But your Moyes tried to do that and was criticised for it.
What did Moyes do?
Moyes cleared out the coaching staff, got rid of Mike Phelan, got rid of everyone, and brought in his own staff, and he was heavily criticised by United fans for doing so. So the idea that Solskjaer was coming back was part of the old guard, and bringing back Mike. Well, I know Mike Phelan was already back before Solskjaer came back, but bringing back the old guard, bringing back the old ways, the old suits and stuff like that.
That's all bollocks as well.
But like,
you know what I mean?
but like it happened though.
No, I know, but it's ridiculous.
Like Moyes was criticised for getting rid of it. Solskjaer brought it back 6 years later. So they're all little silly things in regards to the whole management.
The thing there though is it's not too soon kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So like, look, I don't think either one of them, Moyes or Solskjaer, is ever good enough and ever will be good enough to lead a club like Manchester United to success. I just don't.
When Fergie retired, who did you want to take over?
I honestly can't remember. I've no idea. Do you know what I mean?
Do you remember? Ancelotti was touted, wasn't he?
There was talk of Carlo Ancelotti, yeah.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember who was around or who was available or who was linked with the job or anything like that. But I just remember when I heard David Moyes' name, I went, ugh. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I think Moyes coming in and doing all those things, they probably were the right thing to do, to try and put your own stamp on it and say, if I'm going to do this, I'm doing it my way. Brian Clough at Leeds United. But it rarely works out when you've had a god at the top of your club because the fans are too emotionally attached.
Well, there's something else that happened there. Like, I don't think Ferguson in a million years would have recommended Ancelotti, because you don't want your successor to be better than you.
100%. Ferguson's ego has done more damage into.
He recommended somebody who would be not quite as good as him, who kind of represented continuity rather than revolution. But I'm going to shock you now, lads, right? I think David Moyes would be a great choice for United manager now.
Not the hope.
No.
I know they won't. They're too proud. Just like they're too proud to appoint Brendan Rodgers, who'd also be a great.
No.
Had him. He was fantastic, Gary. Like, Liverpool had him. I can recommend this guy, right? Well, the thing is, I'll vouch for Brendan, but they sacked Moyes too quickly. They didn't give him enough time. If they'd given him 2 or 3 years, he might well have been a very good manager. I mean, he's clearly not a terrible manager. Look what he's doing with West Ham. I mean, they're punching far above their weight.
Yeah, but one swallow doesn't make a fucking summer. Like,
who swallowed? I mean, they were very good last season. They're very good.
They haven't won in 7 now.
Yeah, but I mean, that can happen. You get glitches.
But David Moyes was touted as
top 6, won't they, this year?
Will they? No. I'm not sure they will. I mean, he had 2 decent seasons with Everton.
I'm prepared to put €5 on the table, right? And I've got that €5 in cash in my pocket, right? And say that I think West Ham will finish ahead of Manchester United this season.
I will take your €5 bet and I'll raise you with a bag of peanut M&Ms that you mentioned.
$5, Danny, right?
No, but I'll throw in a bag of peanut M&Ms that you mentioned earlier on, Paul.
All right, okay, I'll take those.
I don't think they will.
I don't see it happening.
I tell you what, if West Ham finish ahead of United in the league, I will maintain your garden in Avoca, Paul, in drag. May, June, July and August of the summer.
All tarmac.
Well, I'll pick up the leaves or whatever.
He means with Manscaped, Paul.
All right, I'll take that bet.
I tell you who could sneak into the top 6.
Palace.
Villa.
Crystal Palace might.
No, they won't. They couldn't beat Southampton this evening.
Did they not beat Southampton 2-0?
No, Graham, it was 2-12.
Oh, wow. They were winning and beating them 2-0. Sorry.
They weren't beating them 2-0. They were losing 2-1 at one point.
I was going to say it was 2-1 the last I saw, but anyway.
I don't think you have a future in broadcasting if you can't even get a hold of that one.
You don't have the charm of Chris Kamara to get away with it.
Who won between Shamrock Rangers and Fingal?
The season's over, Westbury.
Oh, is it? Okay. I'm a Brit, full stop.
Yeah.
I'm kind of stressing to believe it's been nearly 2 hours that we're doing this.
Jesus, is it?
It is, yeah.
Down to about 20 minutes, really.
Gary was very quiet tonight. Must be time of the month.
No, I just enjoying being in everybody's company.
That's a very.
You won't be asked back.
It's a very insensitive comment, Graham, and I'd like you to apologise to the female listeners of What's the Story podcast. No,
the two Johnnies wouldn't make a sexist comment like that.
You're contributing to the downfall of this podcast, Graham.
Very woke. Two gentlemen they were, you know.
Yeah.
And, brilliant, really, really good. I drive down to Care again to do it, you know. Lads, why aren't we doing this in Fitzpatrick's Castle tonight? Because I always kind of, when I think of Christmas and you guys, I just think of us up there.
Danny won't come up from Leash, Paul.
No, you're talking out your hole there again, Graham. COVID is the main reason.
But you were all fucking vaccinated.
Well, we haven't contacted the hotel. We don't know if we're allowed it.
Yeah, we don't know what the story is.
They're fucking happy as back. They're doing fuck all up there, I'd say.
They're a wonderful hotel. Oh, yeah, absolutely will, Graham. Try that comment.
Going on up there. Come on, we should be up there for this, like, you know.
Air Force Hotel.
Go the money.
Air Force Hotel show, when we're all back, lads, yous will be the first people invited on. Regardless of what Graham Merrigan says, Gary, there's always a microphone open for you in this podcast.
Do you know what we need to do? And Paul Howard is the man to get us over the line. We need to get the four of us in a room with Vincent Brown.
Yes, Paul.
Okay. Leave that
seriously, to Paul. Seriously.
Leave that to me. I won't be in the room because I'm a bit frightened of him, you know, but I used to work for him, you see. So
you still see him, Paul?
A bit traumatized. I saw him on the pier about 2 weeks ago, yeah.
And did you have a chat?
No, I just waved at him.
Did he wave back?
No, I was in the water.
I want you to set up a wine tasting with Chris de Boer, Paul.
Yeah, I can make that happen. Yeah. Just don't be leveraging off my two celebrity friends now.
Do you get the helicopter to pick us up, Paul?
I'll bring the crackers and cheese, the easy singles and the Tesco Value water crackers.
I'll bring the cheese board.
Bring the cheese board, Mero. And I meant to say to you, I know it's Christmas is a happy time, but it's also a sad time, and it's that time of year when we think of the people who are with us, but also think of the people who aren't with us. And I know you lost two people who were very dear to you in the last couple of years. You know, the last year, was it?
Yeah, last year. Yeah, 2020.
And you lost your grandparents. So I say to you what I say to everybody around this time of year. You know, people who've lost people, I'd be thinking of you and thinking about, you know, what you're thinking of on Christmas Day, just as I'd be thinking of the people missing from my life as well, you know?
Yeah. Goes right back at you as well, because you're a brother as well, so. Yeah. Shit show.
Yeah, but that's, Christmas brings these things home to you, doesn't it? You know, the people missing from around your table, the people who were there in years past and who aren't there this year. So anyway, sorry to bring
Here.
Jesus, that got serious, that podcast.
It's about from fucking talking theology.
The DNT must be wearing off. He's getting all mellow now.
Before we wrap it up, Paul, you have told a story which will feature on Christmas on RTE. I'll try it again on RTE around Christmas time again this year. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, Sunday Miscellany on Christmas Day. I've told the story of my wanker coat.
which long-time listeners may be slightly familiar with. But
yeah, it's a sort of sheepskin Actually, Mary keeps saying to me, stop describing it as a sheepskin jacket. It's a shearling jacket.
Okay, yeah.
Lamb rather than sheep, right? So the young lamb, it's like when you eat lamb, it's more tender when they get them young, you know? So it's a shearling coat. It was the coat where I walked into Brady's in Shankill one year wearing it, and somebody went, wanker. It's always been known as my wanker coat, like, you know. And I said it in the miscellany piece, like I saw myself in a shop window on Clanbrassil Street one year, and I said, who's that wanker, right? And it was me. And right, and I didn't know until I saw my reflection. But anyway, I was telling the story on in Sunday Miscellany, Christmas Day at 9 o'clock in the morning or something. But I think they'll put it on the podcast just about the time I wore it in New York. And fashion is like anything else; it's all about context and timing. And my banker coat found its moment in New York, and this fella shouted, "Hey, old school!" at me, and I turned, and he said, "Man, I love that coat very much." But then he followed me 30 blocks, shouting at me, "Give me that motherfucking coat. Hey, old school, give me that motherfucking coat." And then he was sort of mixing threats with compliments, like, you know. So he'd be saying, "All the style, old school. All the style. You all the style, old school." And then a second later, it was like, "I'll fucking cut you unless you give me that motherfucking coat." And he followed me 30 blocks, and Mary and I sort of jumped into the shop up on the upper west side, up in the 70s. It was on Columbus Avenue, right? And Mary's trying on a dress or something behind the curtain, you know. And the woman in the shop says to me, the manageress, she said to me, "Yeah, you know, honey, I like your coat." And I said, "Oh, thanks very much." And she said, I said, it sort of divides opinion, actually, this coat. Like at home, people don't seem to like it, and over here they seem to like it too much. And she said, "Well, I love it," she says, you know. And then she said to me, "By the way, is that gentleman with you?" And I turned around, and there's your man looking through the window, right? He comes against the window, his face framed in the two hands. "Hey, old school, give me that motherfucking coat," he was shouting all over the place, you know.
Did you ever respond to him?
No, the cops came and took him away. Right now, I think he was. What was that drug you mentioned earlier, Gary?
DNT.
DNT. He was on something. I think he might have been on the pipe. This guy, like, you know, and
crystal meth or something.
Something like that, you know. But he anyway, my coat was triggering something in him. And but two of New York's finest eventually arrived and took him away, you know, and that was how we were able to leave the shop after about 2 hours. But
well,
I'll be putting it on next week, Mero. You know, I'll be wearing it around town.
Deadly.
And it's a coat that's always provoked opinions. It's always provoked, you know, shouts from the other side of the street as well. So
Danny, we're tweeted occasionally about it, aren't we?
We are, yeah. People still remember when you mention it on this podcast. You won't get to wear it to the two Johnnies because you get better up in care for wearing it. That's all I'll say.
Paul, is there? I know there's because of the pandemic and all that, but is there any update on Ballybrack Boys?
Yeah, it's done.
Oh,
What do you mean it's done?
Can you elaborate?
Written it. End of.
All right. Hang on. When we press stop recording, we'll ask some more questions, lads.
It's done. The contract is signed. Right. I've signed a contract to write the series. I've written episode 1. I've plotted out the whole first season, and I'm hoping that by the time we talk this time next year, we'll be filming. That's
Jesus Christ, really?
Right, okay.
Brilliant.
Really excited about it. I've poured my heart and soul into it. Like this, more than anything else I've ever done is it's my life essentially, you know.
Unbelievable. So the two Johnnies won't be extras in it. We will.
Oh, gee. I mean, I wouldn't even see us as extras. I would kind of see you as sort of central players in it, like, you know. You all have the acting experience. Mero, you've proved it on Fair City, like, you know. Danny, Jesus Christ. I mean, no one can say you don't love a camera.
Well, I mean, this is, you know.
Camera doesn't love you, you know. And, you know, Gary, Jesus, what can I say? You know, Mr. Charisma, like, you know. I don't think we'll even be casting for your parts. I think you're walking.
That's great news, though, Paul. Is it 6 episodes?
Yeah, I'm going to write 6 episodes, and that's the first season, you know. So I kind of know exactly what's going to happen in those first 6, and I'm for a while, you know. So it's sort of loosely based on my childhood, but there's extra bit. There's other people's childhoods thrown in there as well, you know. So it's just about what a weird and wonderful and colourful place Cromlech Fields especially was when I was growing up, you know.
And will you be looking to record it in Cromlech Fields?
Oh, Jesus, yeah. I mean, I would kind of consider that really, really important because location is really important for me. It's kind of like the sort of Derry Girls thing or Young Offenders or something like that. Like if you said to the lads who made Young Offenders, oh, we really like it, but we want to move it to Bath in England, or if you said to Derry Girls, we love it, but we want to situate it in Galway, they'd be furious because the location is really, really important to me, you know. And
awesome.
And sort of there's just something really special about Cromlech Fields as well, you know. You know, that hill. I mean, that hill, which is almost like a 45-degree gradient, where we used to put Jason Moy in a shopping trolley and push him down there and stuff like that. Like, you know, how you couldn't represent that anywhere else. Like it has to be done there, you know. Plus, it's really quiet there now. There doesn't seem to be any kids around anymore, you know. So
your cul-de-sac, there's no kids.
No, there's not. You know, it's really quiet. And I was back there 2 years ago. We were doing some filming there, and I couldn't believe how quiet it was, because I was saying to Adrian McCarthy, who was making the documentary about Ross, he wants to go back to where I grew up, and we're wandering around the streets, and I said, oh, wait till you see Cromlech. It's just going to be so colourful, full of kids, full of madness, you know. Jesus, it was like walking around an empty film lot in Los Angeles or something, like, you know, waiting for the actors to arrive. It was just really, really strange. But I suppose everybody's grown up and moved on, you know, and they're not kids anymore. They have kids and they're playing PlayStation, I suppose.
So it's signed, sealed, delivered, and it's happening.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Happy days.
Excellent. And then the last thing we'll plug for you then, and that's our 3 obligatory plugs as per the contract set out by Lewis Hamilton and Co. solicitors. Is the Coppers, the musical, is back.
Oh yeah, that's coming back in July and August next year. 3 weeks in Dublin at the Olympia, and then we're taking it on the road to Limerick, and so it's in UL, and then we're taking it to the Opera House in Cork. So we've got a 5-week run altogether.
Amazing. It'd be a great night out, lads. Fully recommend it. It'll do a lot better than Gareth Brooks tickets. I'll say that much. Gentlemen, it's been great.
Gary, where can anybody listen to our podcast?
Well, you can listen to it on Spotify, Acast, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and if you have the Live Score app, you can now listen to it on that, and also on RTE Player.
How do they find us? What do they have to search?
Just search WTSpod.com.
Yeah, if you're watching it on the RTE Player, Angus McGraina will flash up on screen 5 times, and if you guess all 5 times right, you win a prize. It's like Brad Pitt and Fight Club, but with Angus McGraina.
We're on Twitter as well at WTSpod. We're at WTSpod.com. We're at Search WTSpod on any podcast provider that Gary outlined. and Danny is at Danjo Murray. I'm at Merrigan Mania, and the two lads are at Gar Mackle and AKA Paul Howard. They are a good follow, particularly when Paul's tweets go viral in the mainland.
We didn't even talk about that. Was fucking gold. It was absolutely gold.
It was absolutely brilliant.
It's a tough time for me, like, you know. we left the house. We moved down to our holiday home in Kerry for a couple of weeks. You know, probably overreacted looking back. You know, essentially, I just like trolling Man United fans, you know, and I just tweeted anyone who loves football would have to agree that it's really hard to watch what's happening at Man United at the moment. And I said, you know, that was it, you know, so I tweeted that. And for about an hour, it was just my followers saying, you prick, and all the rest. And
that was just my dad, Paul.
Yeah, your dad did actually. Yeah, he waved it pretty quickly actually, and I thought he overreacted to it. Like I thought, you know, it was a joke, and I thought Mero should have taken it as such. But
it's classic aggressive lesbian behaviour.
You know, Piers Morgan saw the tweet.
Jesus, that's right. Yeah,
and quote tweeted it saying, "I'm actually delighted what's happening with United." You know, this fucking idiot, like, who just. Like he'd fall for anything, that guy. Like, you know, even a bunch of lads on a stag night pretending they're torturing prisoners in Abu Ghraib and sell the pictures to the Daily Mirror. He would fall for anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, he quote tweeted it, and of course the next thing, I'd like something like 45,000 quote tweets from fans of every single club in England hating on me, right? Saying Leeds fans, Chelsea fans, City fans, I fucking love it. Who the fuck does this guy think he is? You know? And the only fans who actually loved me at the end of it were United fans, right? And I went to bed that night, and the next morning I had 800 new followers. And I started scrolling down through them. They were all United fans, right? They all had Ollie's at the wheel in their little profiles. And I thought, oh, Jesus, lads, there's been a massive mistake. If you're coming to me for comfort at this difficult time.
Did I see, Paul, it like 70,000 replies or something?
Yeah, I mean, it went mad. I mean, it was almost as bad as the time when I said Fairy Tale in New York isn't a Christmas song. Like, it was that bad. Like, you know, we left the house for a little while. Things got pretty tough, you know, and but look, as always happens with Twitter, like 3 or 4 months later you can go back and live in your house again and come back on as if nothing happened, and you know, what's the harm? I think.
Deadly.
Excellent. I can't wait for the next one, Paul. I can't wait for the next one.
That was some outro.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. The tradition lives on, I'm very happy to say, and to you and yours, a very, very happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas, lads.
Merry Christmas, everyone. And next Christmas, definitely in Fitzpatrick's. 100%.
And if we're not doing it in Fitzpatrick's, we'll just do it in my kitchen or something. We'll just
we'll go to one of Paul's 10 houses.
You're doing it in Fitzpatrick's in New York next year.
Oh, even better. Yeah. Even better.
Press John Fitzpatrick. He's getting a lot. We've mentioned him a few times on this, right? He's getting great publicity out of this, right?
Yeah.
But two Johnnies have just done a podcast in New York, by the way. They were over there for Christmas. I mean, their product placement is fantastic. Big influencers, all the rest, you know.
Yeah.
A little bit more. So
it's only 5 years behind us doing them in Las Vegas, Paul. But look, who's judging these things? Because I'm not. I'm certainly not resentful of these things.
Yeah, right. But what I'm saying is, right, we should be in New York. That's where we belong, right, Gary?
Absolutely, 100%.
Let's raise the bar. Let's not just be content with Killiney. We've been there. We've done that, right?
Yeah.
Let's go further.
And invite Chris de Burgh as well.
Listen, I'm happy to bring my 2 celebrity friends, right? You can get us to New York, all right?
If not New York, we'll at least settle for Greystones. No, okay, we won't.
No, okay. Okay, until next time. Me and Danny will be back in the new year, and until next time, clear eyes,
Full hearts.
can't lose.
Happy Christmas, guys.
Excellent.
Happy Christmas, everybody.
lads.